Last month, comedian Owen Benjamin got into a Twitter conversation with a couple other comedians about ethnic jokes that rolled into quite a different conversation about transgender children. Obviously, no one was hurt during these conversations, but a few relationships were altered. Owen Benjamin did, however, lose a well-paying college gig, and his agency dropped him. I find it very interesting and ironic that what began as an argument about free speech, where many people said that Owen is crazy and free speech is not under attack, ended with a college canceling Owen's show. Some would say that that's the free market at work, but it is not, because Owen was paid for the show. It was purely about censorship. What's actually going on is there is a cultural monolith at work. A very small minority of the most privileged people in the history of the world, current-day Americans of all colors, genders, preferences, etc., who feel a primal need to fight wars in a society where no more wars are needed. For as forward-thinking and brilliant as George Orwell's 1984 was, there was a few things he got wrong. One being that Orwell naturally assumed it would be the state silencing dissidents. This is wrong, and it is becoming clearer every day that it is not the state imposing their will over people. It is citizen evangelicals who worship at the throne of progressive leftist thought who are silencing citizen heretics who don't buy into their ever-changing doctrine. The corporations, and finally the government, are trailing behind. Let's take a look at the conversation. Paul F. Tompkins is a comedian with many credits going back to 1996. He is best known for Mr. Show with Bob and Dave and Best Week Ever. He also voices Mr. Peanut Butter on BoJack Horseman. He began criticizing some Mel Brooks quotes specifically about political correctness killing comedy. Tompkins' position is that times change and that comedians need to be more politically correct. John Hodgman, who you may know as the dysfunctional PC guy, computer not political correctness, in Justin Long's Mac computer commercials, or you may know him as a correspondent from The Daily Show with Jon Stewart. Hodgman was going on a long diatribe about how he once on stage told a comedy hero of his why ethnic jokes were no longer cool. When I say diatribe, I mean diatribe. The person Hodgman was talking about was Dave fucking Chappelle. Owen Benjamin took exception to Tompkins criticizing comedy legend Mel Brooks and Hodgman's comments to Dave Chappelle, so he decided to let them know that their censorship was uncool. Owen tweeted to them, "Bell-bottoms went out of style. They weren't forced out by a small group of buzzkill censorship creeps. What you fail to understand is it isn't a question of style, it's a question of censorship. You're the bad guy from Dirty Dancing. Congratulations." If that doesn't make sense to you, it's because Owen actually meant Footloose. Nice burn, anyway. They went back and forth a bit, and then one of Owen's followers reminded him that Hodgman's boss is NPR content creator and all-around leftist Jesse Thorne. Owen found some logical inconsistencies in Hodgman's public stances on hurtful words versus the real-life actions of his boss, Thorne. Owen said to the follower, "Of course, his boss let his 6-year-old get a sex change, which is infinitely more disturbing. You see, Thorne has a transgender child. The child has known they are transgender since the age of 3. Thorne fully and publicly supports his now 6-year-old child's life choice." Thorne was also already in the censorship conversation, tweeting his approval for both Hodgman and Tompkins. He tweeted, "Mel Brooks is a great genius and was once nice to me. It's okay that he's mostly wrong on his stance that PC is killing comedy." His support for Hodgman giving Dave Chappelle a piece of his mind was as follows. Hodgman gets it. What does he get? Your sick approval? Of him telling other men how to appropriately talk? Telling one of the greatest comedians of all time how to talk on stage? Jesse Thorne responded directly to Owen's comment. "Those of us who were paying attention did not know what we were about to witness. It was an epic struggle. A clash of titans. A Twitter war to end all Twitter wars." Let's dive right in. "Hey Owen, I've never met you before, but I'm proud my daughter lives her gender. Forcing her to pretend she isn't a girl would be unconscionable. 6-year-olds, dude. I played piano, wove cloth, and hated sports. I also wanted to be a dog. It's called childhood, weirdo. Maybe talk to a transgender person about what their life is like. Maybe think twice before you're cruel to a little kid, jeez. My piano teacher got a sex change when I was 11. She was 35 and became a dude. We are still bros. I'm tolerant to the choices of adults. Maybe ask your bro how he feels about you shaming a 6-year-old for her transgender identity. I'm friends with 4 trans people, all libertarian. They think political weaponizing of them from the left is psychotic. I've literally said nothing about politics. Politics is irrelevant here. Just know that most people remember from childhood that if an adult wanted them to wear a dress, something was very off. You really don't know anything about this. Whatever you're imagining hasn't happened. Honestly, it's creepy you'd imagine it. Say in writing you won't hormonally alter your son before he's an adult or you're a creep. It is more difficult than you would expect to properly reconstruct a many-threaded conversation on Twitter. To the best of my knowledge, I do not believe Thorne responded to this. The aftermath of this conversation was swift and lasting. Over the next couple days, Owen received tons of hate on Twitter. In his responses, he held his position with retorts based firmly in common sense. For those of us observing who are not strict disciples of leftist doctrine, there were quite a few laughs to be had. The amount of hate was surprising, including some who actually posted the name and contact information of his agent in an effort to get him dropped. This effort was successful. Fun fact, this agency that can no longer represent Owen Benjamin for his radical views on prepubescent transgenderism is the same agency that once sent a young Gwyneth Paltrow to a hotel meeting with Harvey Weinstein. Shortly thereafter, Owen's upcoming UConn show was canceled. In an excerpt from Dave Smith's Part of the Problem podcast, Dave and Owen analyze what exactly the current progressive position on prepubescent transgenderism is.
The position is not that it's okay that a 3-year-old knows for a fact that he's transgender, she's transgender. A 3-year-old can tell you that. And that we should start hormone therapy within the next few years. The position is that you can't even question that.
No.
Like, you can't even argue that you don't agree.
That's why I knew
that
I
you
was
think
onto
that's
something.
crazy.
Because, like, one of my military buddies was like, you get the most flack over a target. And I was like, what an amazing metaphor, because it's just swarm. Dude, you're evil. You're human garbage. I'm like, if this was real, you'd be like, I know this is a tough thing to comprehend. Let's talk about it. Even though I know it's not real, that at least would make me open-minded. When people call you human garbage and they're like blue checkmark people.
Oh yeah, I forgot to mention. Much of the hate going Benjamin's way was from Twitter-verified people, some of whom Benjamin knew personally. Look, I believe that was an accurate assessment of the left's position. No debate, no discussion. This is the way it is now. If you question this, you are a bigot. Sound familiar? I believe that Jesse Thorne came off like a caring father during this Twitter interaction. Unfortunately, the caring father he came off as is one that has been completely destroyed by extreme leftist ideology. I found it ironic that this man, a hard left NPR content creator, is the person whose child is gender confused at the age of 3. What are the odds? That this San Francisco progressive, the kind of person obsessed with transgenderism, gay rights, patriarchy, white privilege, etc., is in this predicament. It doesn't take mental gymnastics to make that jump, and I wasn't the only one who put 2 and 2 together. An excerpt from Legion of Skanks, episode 330.
So this is all in your fucking head. It just happens to be an NPR guy in San Fran who gets all these fucking virtue points from his shitty friend. So I'm not backing down.
Yeah,
Now
by the
this
way,
shit
that's actually a
starts
great point.
rolling.
It's like, oh, what a coincidence. You happen to have a trans kid, even though this is your whole fucking world.
And I'm
It so works out that it's not like some right-wing guy who would have challenged his whole life. It's
Who
the guy
drowned
who
that
gets-
kid in a
It's the
fucking well.
one guy who
But no,
benefits
you get
from
points off of
It's
it,
a-
and you're kind of like
They
very happy to put
benefit
it out
from
there.
it.
It's such a getting behind a kid. I mean, a kid that age, if you were like, hey, you want the person in front of us to be dead so we can go on the ride next? Like, they would be like, sure.
Great point at the end there by Big J. Okerson. Anyone who has spent time with kids know they say a lot of fantastical shit. So why actively choose to believe and reinforce the one about being the wrong gender? I'm sorry, but this is a mental disorder, and it's not with the kid. The mental disorder is with the parents, and it's called progressivism. Look, kids are like Play-Doh. If you handle them, you're going to leave an impression. Have you considered that maybe about 2.5 years ago, around the time your child first expressed their gender, that they overheard you and the rest of the left constantly talking about how brave Caitlyn Jenner is? Maybe they were in the room with you as you watched Jenner's Diane Sawyer interview. Maybe they decided they wanted to make Daddy proud too. On Thorne's website, Maximum Fun, his wife has a podcast called One Bad Mother. They dive into a similar topic with sex specialist guest Corey Silverberg.
kids. I mean, by the age of 6, and if she's a girl, I mean, she already has, unfortunately, already received all sorts of fucked up messages about her body and about gender, not from you guys, but from the world, right? If she's paying attention, she sees advertising, she sees billboards, she hears the radio when it's on in the car.
There's one thing you left out, Corey. What about the parents' influence? I wouldn't want to be in this predicament. I wouldn't wish it on anybody. I don't wish it on Thorne. I think Owen Benjamin can give some parenting advice that even leftists can understand.
Let little kids be innocent, man.
Did you catch that? Let me play it for you one more time.
Let little kids be innocent, man.
So what do you people think? Is Benjamin wrong? Should he have lost his representation? Should he have lost the gig at UConn? Is there a place for him or his views in American society? Should he be allowed to continue living? That's a serious question to the leftists out there. Let me know in the comments, people. This is The World, according to Tony. I'm Tony, and thanks for watching.